So, I've been kind of messing around with some ideas, and I went and picked myself up. The U.S. Constitution Bill of Rights, and it even has bonus material. Is what it has. I'll have a link to this, super cheap, where you can pick it up. I've been watching a lot of those First Amendment guys, and I thought, maybe I'll try that for a little while, and actually go out and exercise my First Amendment and see how that goes. If I do, I'll let you know. But I've been doing a lot of research, and I do have like 3 or 4 blank pages near the end here of this Constitution where I can write actual court dates where things were fought in court. And this seems like a pretty cool hobby because to keep yourself up to date on what the laws are and what your rights are very important because from what I see, I hate to say this, that most police officers do not know the law, they do not know their rights or the Constitution that they take an oath to. And it just seems like when they get a hold of you, they're not your friend, and they just want to charge you with as many things as they can, and that's all they want to do. So you tend to put them in place where you tell them straight up that you're not going to answer questions or whatever, for example, and that puts an end to it. Now, I did a test, and they tell you should record the police at all times, and I fully believe that. That's why my truck is outfitted with cameras everywhere. Now, I turned around and I had put my chest pack on, and I attached the camera to the front. Now, what I did was I set it to 2.6K. I set it to Rocksteady Plus, so that way the video footage would be clean. And basically, the camera itself, all the screens were off, the red light wasn't blinking. You didn't know if I was recording. And I walked into Tractor Supply and I walked into Walmart to pick up a few things just to gauge the reaction of what a camera does to people. And I was actually very, very surprised. When I was in Tractor Supply, I was picking up some cat food, and 2 women actually, I guess they figured the camera was on. And it was, but in their eyes, it wasn't, right? So the one actually says, I hope you found everything you're looking for. Thank you very much for coming. Super polite, super professional. And yet, any other time I ever went without the camera strapped to my chest, that never happened. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And even the woman at the cash register did the same thing. She was extremely professional on everything and super helpful. That camera made everybody professional. So then I was in Walmart, and it was kind of funny. I was in the frozen food section, and this black couple had turned around and they were giggling, and they were saying, and she was whispering to him, and she was saying, he's recording us. And I just kind of laughed, and I turned around and I says, actually, as soon as you walked in here, there's probably 150 cameras recording you. And she looked at her husband and she was like, well, that's right too. They're all over the place. I said, yes, they are. But it's interesting how you noticed my camera on the front of my chest when you don't even care about the cameras on the ceiling. And she says, that's true. She never even had thought about that whatsoever. And then on my way out of Walmart, the so-called greeter, old man, turns around and says, so what are you recording? And I just kind of laughed, and I looked at him and says, I'm not recording anything. It's not on. And he said, oh, well, what do you use it for? I says, well, I use it to record the cops. He says, why would you want to do that? And I just shook my head and I walked away.
Who are you filming?
Nobody, it's not on.
Huh?
It's not on. There'd be a red light blinking or the front would be on. I only use it for the cops.
For what?
For the police if they pull me over. The reaction of it was quite interesting. And, when I carry a firearm on my side, normally concealed, but sometimes you'll see it. And I never get a reaction from people about that whatsoever. Never. It's like normal everyday thing. But as soon as you mount the camera to yourself it's like the end of the world. So now I'm kind of curious about this getup. I'm kind of curious about the reaction I'll get by having a stretchy mask on of the American flag and my little zombie hat and a pair of sunglasses. And I'm wondering what kind of reaction I'll get with this now. Will that actually paranoid people? And it's pretty cool. Now, if I do go out and do some First Amendment videos, I'll put them on a different channel. But I'm kind of interested in the reaction I get from people. And it seems to me that, an actual camera, people are more paranoid of than they are of an actual firearm, is what it is. And it's amazing how the guy with the camera becomes the enemy. When in actual case, let's say you're out in front of a business and you're on a public sidewalk and you're recording that business, you would think the business would be extremely happy that you're doing that. But they're not. They're actually, they get offended by that. Because if anything was to happen, you would have actual video because video don't lie. So a lot of this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Why they are so gung-ho to prevent a camera from coming into City Hall or to be in public in general when they're everywhere. They're on banks, they're just about everywhere you can imagine. I mean, anytime there is a crime in my little town, if the cops know you got cameras on your house like I do, they will actually come to your house and ask if they can have that video. We had a situation here where a woman 3 houses down, she'd had some stuff stolen in front of her house, but they knew what the vehicle looked like and what kind of vehicle. And the cops came to my house and asked me if they could have the video footage. And it basically got the guy nailed because my cameras shoot out to the road. So it is quite interesting on how cameras, that technology, has actually taken care of a lot of crime that goes on. If you look back, January 6th, when that went on, and they were protesting, they pretty much nailed everybody that was there. And the reason for that is because cell phones actually send an IP and ping towers, so they know which cell phone's there. Now you just got to get some people's cell phones and get their video they recorded. If you didn't have a get-up like this, chances are you were probably being nailed. And that's just the way everything is now. So, and this is cheap. I mean, the hat was like $30. This was like $6. I've always wore dark sunglasses because of how bright it is. It's just easier to drive. But this is kind of cool. And I can see how this would shock people or annoy them. But there's nothing saying you can't walk around and dress like this. You want to dress like a clown, you can. I mean, it's supposed to be a free country, right? And I think it's all very interesting. But if you don't have, one of these books, I'll have a link at the bottom. It's not expensive. It's really cheap. Go pick one up and really read it over and study it like it's your Bible. It's the Constitution. I mean, it is what this country lives by. Nothing trumps this. Understand that. And if a cop is to break those laws in any way, shape, or form, they will be punished. And I see a lot of guys making a lot of money also. There was one particular guy's video I watched. He was sitting on a sidewalk recording in public. The cop, he didn't talk. He didn't say nothing. He just walked away from the cop. The cop put him in handcuffs. He was in handcuffs for maybe about 5 minutes. And his sergeant came and told him, you've seen it on video, even on the cops' videos, said you shouldn't have put him in handcuffs. That was foolish. Because he was exercising his First Amendment right. And in the end, he got well over $44,000. And quickly, it wasn't something he waited 1 or 2 years for. They wanted to settle out of court, and they settled within 4 weeks. And he put over 40 grand in his pocket just that quick. So, and I'm not doing it for that, but overall, that shows you that even the cops are not allowed to break those amendments. And it's amazing when these were made. They were made so long ago, and we still abide by them. You know, the right to carry, and there's a lot more to the amendments than you know. You really should pick this up and read it. It should be your Bible. It should be in your vehicle at all times. And if your wife runs in or whatever, you got something to quickly pick up and read. And just to keep yourself educated so this way you're not sitting in a bad situation. The two biggest things that will protect you in the United States is the U.S. Constitution and a camera. And that's it. Those two things will protect you and be able to prove everything that's going on. I have 3 cameras inside my truck. I've got 8 cameras around the house. I mean, it's just ridiculous that you have to do this, but times are changing. And it's not safe out there. I don't care what anybody says, you know. And there's a shortage on police, they say. So you just have to think about that a little bit. There's a shortage on police. Nobody wants to do the job because they don't get paid enough, because they do the wrong thing wrong. They go to jail. Cops are second guessing themselves. So how many cops do you think are hiring that are good cops? How many cops are hiring that you think do not have tempers? You know, it's crazy. There was one time here in town, and I was coming down the road, and I was speeding. I mean, I was literally doing like 55 and a 30, and I seen the cop turn around and start to come after me in my rear mirror. I pulled into a corner store, and I jumped out of the truck and ran in the store right away. See, I knew he couldn't give me a ticket now because I wasn't in the vehicle. That's an old trucker's trick. But when I came out, and I made sure to be in there for a good 5 minutes, I bought myself a cola, and when I came out, I mean, he flipped out at me. He was yelling at me. He was calling me 4-letter words. He was calling me everything in the book. And that was wrong. He's not allowed to do that. And if I would have had cameras back then, this was over 15, 16 years ago, he wouldn't have got away with that. And it seems the right thing to do. When you see a cop doing something wrong, you need to go down and put a complaint in. And you think it's not going to do nothing, but it actually sits on his record. And if enough people do it, then sooner or later that guy will lose his job because, like I said, there's a shortage of cops. So you know they're not hiring high-quality cops out there. They're taking whoever they can get. And half the time they don't even want to charge that cop. They normally just send him to another precinct. They don't keep him around. Really, not much happens to them. And they do cover up crimes on a constant basis. I've seen it. We had a cop here in town, this was about 4 years ago, and he was taking sexual favors from women he was pulling over. And one woman came forward to our sheriff, and the sheriff he was supposed to charge him, but the sheriff did not want to charge him because it was one of his group. So they sent it up the ladder to some other force, and they charged him. But they only charged him with 1 count. That's it. And I have not heard anything since. I've actually sent multiple emails to the sheriff asking about it. He doesn't even reply. He just deletes it. And I thought that was quite interesting. But they keep it all hush-hush. And do you think there's only 1 charge of that? You don't think there was other women this cop was doing this to? And this is a little town. This town's like 1,500 people. So can you imagine what goes on in bigger cities? No, you got to have cameras in your vehicle. And you got to start understanding what your rights are and know how to exercise them when you have to. Now, you don't want to sound stupid. You don't want to sound ignorant. And I've noticed some of these First Amendment guys on YouTube, they'll try to bait them. They'll try to create drama. I mean, they want views, and I can see that. But if I was to actually do a channel about the First Amendment, it probably wouldn't get very many subs because I wouldn't be trying to create views and create drama. I would literally be trying to do it to educate people about the First Amendment and what's happening around them. So they're not so scared of cameras. Because it really feels like, to me, cameras are the key to keeping us safe. And I hope you're not one of those people that believe cops can't do no wrong. They fight with their wives, they get ill feelings, they get angry just like anybody else. And it takes less than a second for their anger to pop. And that's the crazy thing about it. I've seen a lot of people get hurt by cops that there was no reason for it whatsoever. I've seen cops that do not handle themselves professionally whatsoever. So I think these are scary times that we live in when you can't count on our officials to be transparent or cops not to protect your rights or try to set you up. I've even seen videos where cops actually drop drugs in cars and everything else and set you up. In other words, you should never say, yes, I allow you to search my car. I got nothing to hide, because, I've seen videos of cops that actually dropped the drugs in the car, to meth, and the next thing you know, that person was getting charged and they never did drugs in their whole life. And it took them well over 7 years by the time they caught the cop doing it. And all those people that got charged, a lot of them were sitting in jail because they said, yes, you could look at my vehicle. No, you don't want to help them. And if a cop says, we want to look at your vehicle, I will automatically say, no, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You'll need a warrant, whatever. Run your dogs, whatever you got to do. And I'm not going to make their job any easier, because it looks like all it's going to do is put me in jail for trying to be an honest citizen. And that's kind of scary. So I'll have a link at the bottom to this. If you want the hat and the face mask, I'll have a link to those too. This hat's pretty cool. I've never seen a hat such well made. This is like a very soft nylon mesh where that screen is, which is kind of cool. Anyhow, if you don't got one, go pick one up. Catch you guys later.